Hello everyone, I'm AutoChamp Vandalen. I'm Uday, and right next to me is the new Nissan Leaf, and I must say it looks very EV style compared to the previous generations. Now, I'm not so sure if this is something to be proud of, but at the same time, we gotta give it to Nissan. They're going places. The Nissan Leaf model was one of the earliest EV model for the Renault-Nissan alliance. And what's actually quite respectable about the Nissan Leaf model is that it's not as renovated as the Nissan Qashqai. You don't see much Renault bits and pieces. That's actually quite nice. But then at the same time, on the other side of the scale, it seems as if the Nissan Leaf model has had a curse for having very limited popularity, especially here in the European market and especially here in Belgium. I just don't see many Nissan Leafs on the road. That was the case for the first generation. Well, I knew some neighbors who had them, but they got rid of them. And they aged quite badly, actually, the first generation Nissan Leaf. The second generation was nicer, but it had a very conventional design to it. It looked very generic. But it seems as if that's about to change with this new third generation Nissan Leaf right over here. Very first thing you all will remark is this Nissan Ariya style front over here. No grille at all. It's very interesting, and it's not the EV style in the sense where it's like a Tesla or an Xpeng where you have this humble nose. You still have the Nissan identity. The wheels are quite nice. They are actually 3-spoke alloys. That's good. And just over here, you have your charging port. See this? And you also get pop-out door handles for the front doors. Now, when it comes to door sounds, Nissan Renault cars don't tend to be that inspiring, but at the same time, there's something about Nissan doors that are super light. This is just very light, or at least it's a bit heavier than the Nissan Qashqai. But yeah. Now, another problem is that something about Renault Nissan is they tend to put the side rear doors handles. They tend to put it on the C-pillar. So when you have shopping in your hands, it's not very convenient, but in terms of style, it does give it a coupe style. Towards the rear, we see a very powerful Nissan identity. This kind of rear design could be a subtle reference to Datsun cars of the 1960s and 1970s, where they had Ford Mustang or American muscle car lookalikes, but smaller and more affordable, and perhaps more interesting to look at, depending on how you perceive. But this is the thing about the rear design. We call this the Kamm tail, where it's a completely vertical rear. You have Nissan written in letters just over here. Now, this is something extraordinary, and surprisingly for the Nissan brand, this is good. And I will definitely say this, when compared to Toyota electric cars, there's something about Nissan Renault cars that tend to be more interesting to look at, interesting to drive. There's just more character to their cars. Now, before I check out the interior, I just quickly want to have a look at what's underneath the bonnet. First of all, this bonnet is super light. I can literally hold it with one finger, almost. So it's very good. You have a strut over here to hold this bonnet up. I'm not sure where it goes. Oh, it goes all the way there. Anyways, so unfortunately, you don't get a frunk. Now, this will be a little bit disadvantageous when we compare with what the Chinese car competitors offer, like that of BYD, NIO, Xpeng. And now I am going to check out the interior of the Nissan Leaf. Now, already I see a strong EV stereotype. The fact that there tends to be a gap between the driver's seat and the front seat passenger, and this mysterious gap over there where I have an isolated 12-volt socket over there. That's very lonely, actually. And then surprisingly, the leather seats are nice, but then the tissue above, and then you have no electric seating adjustments. So sitting inside this Nissan Leaf, when compared with the previous generation, it's far more organized. It's less busy. It's simple, it's plain, but then thank goodness it doesn't have the Tesla or Xpeng effect where you have a massive touchscreen to control just about everything and then little to nothing happening across the interior. You have some Nissan charm. I will tell you this. The quality of the leather and the way the materials are designed, the way they look, I can already tell this is very Nissan Renault-ish. This design over here is definitely Nissan Renault. I mean, I've seen this exact similar design over there in certain Renault cars. So it's quite nice. But I'm at least happy that this Nissan is not as renovated as the Nissan Qashqai. The steering wheel is pleasant to hold on to. It's leather wrapped. It's a 2-spoke steering wheel. It's quite nice. And then I like how the window buttons have this black trim to it. And then I like the squidgy leather just next to it. The door has this nice leather effect. I really like how there's little to no exposure of hard plastic. Excellent. Now, the cup holders over here are very good, but they're just down there, and each time I have to reach this cup holder, my wrist will make contact with this edge over here. And then you have this wireless telephone recharge, and you get a small center console storage. Already, when it comes to practicality, I see some red flags. That's what I can already tell you. Something about the way this area has been designed seems a little bit illogic. There seems to be some mishmash of things. Like, I just don't quite understand what's the purpose of this empty space, and then why have an isolated 12-volt socket down there? Something I find mysterious. Speaking of practicality, I'm looking at the door bin of the passenger side, and it's not very inspiring. The door bin is very short, and I think it can fit a big bottle, but it's just very short. It's not very long. You see, that's the problem here. And then also another odd thing I've noticed is that on the other side, isolated over there, just next to the door, you have the parking brake. And then over here, you have your transmission, but the way it's presented, just in plastic and just as buttons, it's almost as if it was an afterthought, everyone. And it's almost as if it's all part of the trim. It's a bit as if they lost enthusiasm for this transmission control over here, because most car manufacturers make efforts to presenting their transmission. They'll put some chrome trim, or they'll put some nice lighting to them. But here, Nissan has just left them there in buttons like that. Very, very pleasant. Let's have a look at the infotainment system together. So I already see you get a dual zone climate control, and I just like this animation that plays when you activate the infotainment system. And you also have heated seats. Great. Yeah. Already, from what I see, you have an Android system. However, Nissan infotainment systems before never were actually that inspiring. In my Nissan Navara, the infotainment system gets the job done, right? It has its navigation and everything. It's perfect. It goes from A to B. But the problem is the infotainment system is not, you don't expect any graphics or any stylish to them. Whereas here, what Nissan has done is very interesting. Like, they've really improved it a lot. And then if you look above, you have a panoramic roof. Now, this panoramic roof doesn't have a shutter, but it does have a sort of a little thing over here. It's like, I think it's via the infotainment system or via this, you choose the transparency level. That's how it works. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I've seen this effect in Lotus cars as well. And now over to the rear seats of the Nissan Leaf. First thing I've noticed is that the seat belts appear to have this dark blue trim to them. It's a bit interesting. I wonder what's that dark blue trim for, given that the interior has the black leather. Let's have a seat. Another advantage is that the floor in the middle is flat and the seat is so soft. It's like a sofa. Oh wow, this is great. It's very, very cozy actually. Far more interesting than what I've seen of the Volvo EX30 and the Volkswagen ID.3. This is way better. I tell you, Nissan did a good job with this rear seat. Only problem is leg room can be limited because the seat railings of the driver's seat and the front seat passenger. The headrest is a bit on the firm side. Otherwise, headroom is good. Knee room, good. But then again, the floor, well, it's not an issue actually. It's fine. The seat is great. You also get an armrest over here. Another thing, I like how the windowsill is coated in fabric material. This is great. But just be very careful that in long terms, if you have this window open often, and if it happens to rain, or if there happens to be some dust particle from outside, the dust can stick to the fabric. You have to be very careful with this fabric. That's all I can say, right? Just be careful in long terms. Take care of it. Armrest over here with 2 cup holders. It's very nice. It keeps you cocooned on the back seat. Very good. Door bin is great. The door bin is nice. I like the back seat pocket as well. It's fabric, it's flexible, and you get 2 USB-C charging ports just down there. This is great. I'm impressed actually with the rear seat. It's average for its segment. Nothing flamboyant, but at the same time, when you sit on the rear seat and you take a view of this interior, thank goodness you don't have the EV car stereotype or the greenhouse effect where there's glass just everywhere, just like in a Tesla or in an Xpeng. Just over here in a Nissan Leaf, you will know you are sitting in a Nissan or a Renault Nissan car, that's for sure. And now I'm going to have a look at the boot space of the Nissan Leaf. So it's straightforward. just over here, thank goodness it's nothing pretentious like having a badge tilt or having a discrete button somewhere. Something straightforward and simple like this. Now already there's a good news. One thing I really like is that the floor is flat, all right? You can easily slide the luggages in and out, and then the boot floor is actually adjustable. So I can move it down just over here to increase the volume space of the boot space. This is great. However, if you do put the boot floor like this, or if you do get rid of the adjustable boot floor, let's say we put it down, the space is almost as if it's that of a Nissan Qashqai, right? So it's almost like that of a small crossover SUV. So you're not exactly going to look at this segment for the ideal boot space or the quote-unquote perfect boot space. And it should also be noted that when it comes to the Nissan Renault Alliance, the Nissan Renault Alliance never had the best of practicality solutions. But then at the same time, this is enough boot space to get you by. This is one thing I like. And you can also adjust the boot floor by the middle, this one over here. Ironically, underneath over there, I just noticed you have tether points. So it's quite interesting what I'm seeing over there. And there's no 12-volt socket anywhere to be seen, and no smart practicality solution. Now, it was very good that the floor is flat, but then just over here you have the body paint, which sticks out quite proudly. So just be very careful in long terms when you're sliding your luggages in and out. So here's my conclusion of the Nissan Leaf 2026. This third generation Nissan Leaf 2026 is one of the most promising electric cars I've seen for a price range of less than 50,000 euros, where we're looking at between 40 to 50,000 euros. So it is one of the most promising. It's stylish, perfect for the city, ideal for the city, and thanks to its dimensions, easy to park, easy to live with, easy to tax, easy to insure. So it's amazing in many ways. It can tick maximum boxes. But here's the problem. If I look at the Chinese car manufacturers, they will offer you better value for money. They'll offer you a car that looks like a luxury car worth around 70 or 100,000 euros, and all that cramped in a price of less than 50,000 euros, like that of Xpeng and that of BYD. But then they also have their own problems. They have a little bit of an identity crisis. Whereas what I'm very proud to see with the Nissan Renault Alliance, they have found their style. I'm really proud of this Nissan Leaf with the fact that they have this Nissan identity about them. The Nissan Ariya towards the front, some Nissan GT cars, some classic Nissan GT car by the rear. Now, for a price of around 48,000 euros, is this my favorite? I'm going to be very honest. When it comes to value for money, I do feel like there's something missing about this Nissan Leaf, but then we have to give it to them. It is far more interesting than the Volvo EX30 and the Polestar 2 and the Tesla Model 3. And that too, the length isn't dramatically different when compared to the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2. Are you looking for a decent company car? Are you looking for a car that's ideal or perfect for the city? This Nissan Leaf is for you, and it also has the identity. If you're looking for something luxurious or something that's quite interesting to drive, that's where the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2 are for you. But if you really want value for money, it seems like the Chinese electric car manufacturers take the trophy. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos that are on the run. Check the link in the description for more of my car reviews of other Nissan Renault cars, and then of course the competitors of the Nissan Leaf. Take great care of yourselves, and I will see you all next time.